Hi, welcome to Schmooze with Suze. I'm Suze Montgomery, your host, and this is going to be an interesting show. It's all about the environment, which right now I'm going to make a big political statement. I'm a little bit worried about our current, soon-to-be, as of tomorrow, new president and the environment. I'm nervous. I'm hoping that he's not going to take a U-turn and undo everything we've done. Okay, end of soapbox. Now I'll get back to the show. So welcome to Perry Van Houten and John Hankins. We're talking environment with you guys today and getting some other stuff in there. I became acquainted with Perry because I listen to this great radio show every morning, and Perry's one of the radio hosts. It's KVTA, 1590 on his shirt. It used to be 1520. I still remember it as 20. It's on my TV. It's on my radio in my car. It's on my radio in my office. I listen to the show from 5 to 9 at 1520 a.m. It's a great show. And it's the morning show, and I love it because it's eclectic, and you've got so much going on there. It's you and Tom and Rich, and Big Tom's the newest guy, right?
Yeah, Tom McLean, and kind of an interesting mix of characters, interests.
It's really an interesting mix. I never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like one of those. I think that's part of the reason I listen to the show too. And also I listen because I'm just fascinated by the way radio works. How'd you get involved in radio?
I was 15 years old and lived in a small town in the Sierra Nevada with my folks, and there was a radio station, the one station in town, KVML, the voice of the motherlode, and my folks listened to the station. It was the station that carried the Little League ball games live, and Paul Harvey News, and the church shows on Sunday morning. And I needed a job as a 15-year-old teenager. My folks said, "Get a job." And so I wrote a letter to the owner saying I would like to work. I've always been interested in electronics and music and radio, and my folks listen to the station. My dad wins prizes on your station, and I would love to do whatever, sweep up on weekends or whatever. And he invited me to come down for an interview, and hired me. I was on the air at 15.
You got paid?
My first day. I
you
was
got
on
paid
the air my
at
first
15?
day. Yes, I did.
Wow.
I eventually, 10 years later, working up through the ranks, became operations manager at the station, and then moved to Southern California.
I was going to say, how'd you get from there to here?
I was conned. Basically.
Oh, that works pretty well.
Conned by an employer.
Bribed?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was told that Lancaster was a great place to move to, right on the doorstep of Los Angeles.
No offense to Lancaster, but
and luckily Ventura rescued me. So that's the story.
There's a quantum leap. Let me think about how that transitioned. It's very interesting. So now you are on, what, 5 days a week?
5 days a week, right?
Okay, so you go in, do your gig, you leave?
No, I'm there until we do the morning show, and then I'm there doing news cut-ins once every half hour until 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
So what do you do in the interim?
Write news, gather news. Right.
Oh, so you're writing, where do you get this, off wires?
Some of it,
not wires, but I mean, what
yeah,
do they do these
some
days?
of it's from media sources, ABC News. We talk to the cops constantly, talk to the fire department and get local news that way, listen to the scanner to get tips on where news is happening. So, yeah, it's a constant process, and it's never a dull moment around here.
I bet it would be fun.
It is. It's interesting, you know.
I'm actually going to be doing radio coming up pretty soon. My poor husband that's sitting on the couch is looking at me like, what? I haven't even shared this with him yet. But I'm going to be doing a radio show for a new radio station in town that's Caps Media. And they are going to be doing a radio, they have a radio station. They're going to be going live now any day. And they were looking for people to somehow do a radio show. And I kind of said, well, I can do one. So mine's going to be Ask Mom or Call Mom.
You're a natural. You
are.
It's,
people will call in and ask me for really crappy advice, and I'm going to give it. Being a mom for how many years here?
I'll be a regular caller in on this one.
What was that?
I'll be a regular caller in on this one.
No family can call in. There's going to be some guards on that one. No, but I've always loved radio. I mean, I grew up with radio like you did as a kid too, and radio was my first real media. You know, outside of the old green screen TVs when we were kids in the late '40s, early '50s. But I'm fascinated, and I love the show. I love what you guys do. You're my only show in the morning.
Thank you. Well,
so thank you for doing
It's
that.
nice to work with 3 other guys in the morning that are just like buddies that you'd hang out
Yeah,
with.
it's kind of. I can just see everybody sitting around having a brew. But not at 5 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. So welcome, John Hankins. I get to see John Hankins on a regular basis.
Yeah.
This is the husband, or the hubs. John Hankins is my husband. He's not on very often. We kind of keep him sequestered off to the side.
Right.
But John is also like Perry, and we're going to get into that in a second, environmentally inclined, lack of a better term. And I think it's really important for the work that you both do, and you do extensive environmental work, both of you, to keep that going, to keep it alive and to keep it in the public eye. There's so much confusion out there today with so much media, and it's really hard to focus in on 1 or 2 subjects that interest you, but you both have made that paramount in your lives as a focal point and have the ability to teach other people. You do it with Sierra Club.
I do it with Sierra Club, and their slogan is explore, enjoy, and protect.
And you do
And
what?
I'm also now involved with the Ventura Hillsides Conservancy.
Another environmental group.
Yes, so the Sierra Club portion, we do hundreds of free outings into the backcountry and the hills and the ocean and all that all the time, and people should really go on our website if they want to get an outing. And all our leaders know first aid and typically know a lot about the flora and the fauna. And of
How'd you
course,
get involved?
The big open secret is it's a good, clean dating service in a way, because you're going out hiking, you know, for a Saturday afternoon or whatever, with like-minded people who want to go out and see the backcountry.
Do you want me to tell them about the first dates going hiking with?
I'd like to hear about that.
Oh, these are great. These are classics. So he takes me out to, you remember this?
Yeah, Joshua Tree.
Joshua Tree.
Yeah.
Winter. The wind is blowing at how many miles an hour?
Well, it got up to 60 at some point. The tent was going like this.
That was the tent, and the wind. That was the wind. Don't let him kid yourself. Okay, so it was, what's your background, John? Yeah, wink, wink, nod, nod, nudge, nudge. What's your background? So everybody at home, I know your background, but they don't always know.
Oh, well, I'm an East Coaster. I grew up in Connecticut and was always outside, even in the winter. You know, when you're growing up as a kid, you know, you love the snow. And I remember in the hurricanes, oh, Mom, I'm going to go out for a few minutes. She says, there's a hurricane out there. I says, I'll just be back in a few minutes. So I got into industrial strength gear, which in that time was 2-inch wool coats and everything. And I remember walking up the street against the wind, and I was at about an angle like this.
Wow.
And I said, this is ridiculous, because everything was slippery and everything. So I turned around and the wind just blew me down. It was weird. But I always enjoyed the backcountry, and one of my uncles in Vermont pretty much lived off the land. And he started, he'd go out hunting and then dress a deer or whatever it was. And
in a dress?
yeah. and freeze it for the whole winter and all
You mean
that.
like actually killing the deer?
Yes, and then cutting it.
Gutting it, eviscerating
yeah, you know,
it.
the garage, they'd hang it up by the hooves upside down and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's the way we did it back in caveman days, I suppose. But anyway, he also created a wild game affair, a foodie thing that's still running to this day, and it's gotten national attention.
Like a co-op or something?
No. He asks all kinds of people in the backcountry, hunters, etc., to bring their game. It could be snakes, it could be whatever, various kinds of birds and moose and all that, and prepare that for a huge, big picnic. So all these things sort of inspired me to stay, be outside, and I didn't get in, when I finally came to California after the service, I fell in love with California partly because it's year-round weather that's nice. And when you get up to the top of the mountain, you can see. Back east, you get up to the top of the mountain, it's all trees, unless you have a fire lookout. So you can climb up the fire lookout and see all that. So it's just a different thing. And then I got involved with the Sierra Club because of the good works that they did, and to take people out.
And this is your publication, correct?
Yeah, it's called The Condor Call.
How long have you been doing this?
Since the 70s.
That's a long time. You're the editor?
I'm the editor, and it has all kinds of news, and it also has all the outings. If you go to the middle part and show that, you can see how many outings we go to. And it's in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties. Yeah, the Take a Hike. And each one of those paragraphs is a different outing on a different day.
These are all different?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I thought these were replicated.
Yeah, I'm serious. Hundreds of outings per year, and we take you free out on the trails.
Really? You don't have to pay for these?
No.
So that, to promote what? Outdoor activities. You do also outdoor activities. Do
Yes,
you
he
do
does.
hikes?
Yeah, I lead some hikes with Ojai Valley Land Conservancy. I'm a docent with the Conservancy. So
Is
we
that
go,
like a nonprofit as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. We go out and we pick up trash, and then with the U.S. Forest Service, do some volunteer work with trash cleanups and brushing projects.
What's a brushing project?
You know, trimming, lopping brush off the trail.
Like we did on Sunday or whatever it was?
That was with the Ventura Hillsides Conservancy. We're doing a similar thing down at the river. We're trying to get rid of invasive plants.
I did trash.
And there was this one, yeah, she did trash.
I did trash.
We were getting rid of this Dutch broom plant, which grows
And you know
way
what
up high.
that is.
And then there's also the arundo, which is like a bamboo thing. So the
Arundo
Sierra
donuts.
Club does that. But this particular one was Ventura Hillsides Conservancy, and I'll make a plug for that, is that they do this at least once a month, and you can go on their website and find out, and please join us. We had a lot of young people from
Starbucks showed up doing some community service work.
Exactly.
I was really impressed
We've had
by
Girl
that.
Scouts. We do Santa Clara River, but Perry also has written many stories for me in the Condor Call, and the one that's going to be printed, this next one. Tell them about that exciting thing.
This is a trail that was built back in 1903 and starts in the Ojai area and runs to the Santa Barbara County line, called the Ocean View Trail.
How long is that?
This stretch of trail is going to be about 6 miles long is all, but it starts on the Ojai end in the Ventura River Preserve at the Oso Trailhead, climbing the Kennedy Ridge Trail and transitioning over to the old Camino Cielo, which is an old road that they're restoring, and it will continue up to the end of the Camino Cielo and then climb the Ocean View Trail. From the top of the Ocean View Trail, you get, as the name implies, fantastic views of the ocean and the backcountry. All 8 Channel Islands can be seen from up
wow.
there, and it really is an historic thing. And a lot of old timers remember being on the Ocean View Trail, but it hasn't been touched by any sort of brushwork since the mid-60s. And so
How do you even know where to go?
they are trying to figure out, this is the Ojai Valley Land Conservancy, which is leading this effort along, partnering with the U.S. Forest Service and Los Padres Forest Association, and they're using satellite images and GPS coordinates, old maps from the 1950s to try and, with brush 10 feet tall, down on their hands and knees, trying to find the route through this brush. And so hopefully this spring, this historic 100-plus-year-old trail will be open once again, and from using this trail you can access Carpinteria, go further into the Santa Barbara backcountry,
how cool.
descend down into Matilaha Canyon. I mean, it just opens up a myriad of possibilities.
How do they even know how to begin this? I mean, where would you get this kind of information to even go on this?
There are old photos of old forest rangers with their horses up on this trail, and like I say, a lot of old timers remember this trail, and it's a shame that it just was abandoned. Fantastic views, though. You're right behind White Ledge Peak. You get views that are just incredible, not just of the ocean, but of the backcountry, the LA mountains. I mean, their joke is that you can see all the way to Hawaii from up there, which some people do believe, but it's really not true. Yeah.
They're smoking some of that Spanish stuff. Okay.
And the other thing too is other good news. The Tar Creek area,
What's that?
which is in the backcountry in the Sespe, immensely popular for Ventura people, and you just recently, this last year, there was a deal with the property owner who was stopping people. You had to trespass to get in there, and so now it is legally opening and all that. So both what you do and what the Sierra Club does is open up trails, maintain them, because the Forest Service doesn't have any money anymore.
Yeah, Perry and I talked off camera about that. Somebody
really
is retiring or moving and got another job.
Yeah, our beloved forest ranger Heidi Anderson, who's the Wilderness Trails Manager with the Ojai Ranger District, she's been wanting to move to a cooler climate than Ojai for a long time, and so she landed her dream job in Klamath Falls, Oregon. She's going to be leaving in a few weeks, and she is one of those rangers who doesn't sit behind a desk all day. She's actually out there on the trail, and she manages the volunteer program. So she's the one who gets people together to go out and cut brush and down trees and clear trails and do tread work and clean graffiti off rocks in
But
places.
didn't you say she's not, her position's not going to be filled?
The plan is that her position is not going to be backfilled.
That's crazy.
So that's the way it is.
What it means is that, as Perry well knows, and most of the people who are involved in this, since the Forest Service doesn't have a whole lot of money and the various organizations, volunteers step up. And that's the thing, like with the Hillsides Conservancy, you and I went to, on Martin Luther King Day, we went down to get some non-native plants out by the Ventura River and had all those people from Starbucks. And we always need people. We have a big project down at the Santa Clara River that's being revitalized with the help of UCSB. So, and Girl Scouts come up and all kinds of people, and also commercial places like a Starbucks, or REI is another big one that helps out the Ventura Hillsides Conservancy.
Do you have the same thing with your Ojai Conservancy? Do you have,
Patagonia has been a huge,
community
huge helper.
partners are supportive.
And that's the same with Hillsides Conservancy.
Okay, so they give
Patagonia
you
is
money,
amazing.
or what do they do? And, their employees also participate?
Yeah.
Well, our good friend Mary Luby, I don't know if you know Mary.
Of course.
Okay,
Been
Mary
on-
hangs out in our backyard.
Been cutting brush with Mary.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, in fact, we're going to the SAR thing on Saturday
the
night.
search and rescue
Search and rescue.
thing,
And Luby works for Patagonia.
we teach a wilderness basics course every February, and it's gotten so popular. We had 50 full last year, and normally we don't get a full complement until right up to about February 1st. We're already full.
Really?
And the Los Padres Forest Association also, they only do like a day or a weekend or something like that, training. And all this is filled up all the time, which tells you that there's an awful lot of excitement about people wanting to get back. You should. I just went with the Hillsides Conservancy to this. It's going to be at least 1,000 acres or more, up at an old ranch thing past Foothill. And as you know, most of the land in the hillsides and all that is private property. And so we don't get to go back there. Well, the Hillsides Conservancy, the Ojai Conservancy, and organizations like that, it was amazing to go back there and see true wilderness. They used to do cattle back there, but they don't do it anymore. And we're going to open all that up to people, and the dream is to have trails all throughout the back of Ventura that will also can get up into Ojai, you know, over Selfler Mountain and this, that, and the other. It's very exciting.
So by saying this and by sharing all this information of all these different people participating in the groups and the hikers that are, you know, signing up for all these classes, the resources, it sounds like the resources are diminishing, right, from like a federal level?
Yes, very much so.
So
I mean,
what's the deal with that? Why and how and what can you do to advocate for that? I mean, can you write letters? Can you call up your congressman? I mean, what do you do to remediate that situation? It can't go away.
well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's true. That the Forest Service, for instance, their budgets have been cut, like slashed in half all
And
these
you mostly
years.
work with Forest Service, correct?
The Forest Service
Yeah.
and the Ojai Valley Land Conservancy.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so they more and more have relied not on employees who are rangers or whatever, but volunteers from organizations. It's getting worse all the time. And now one of the things that's very frightening is, particularly with the incoming administration, is there are movements to get rid of federal lands and either bring them back to the states and particularly privatize them. And we're already in the Los Padres National Forest, the fees now are skyrocketing. It's no longer a bargain to go camping and all that. I mean, it's still great.
Well, when we were kids, camping was like if you grew up in a middle class kid, post World War
Yeah.
II, that was what families did. I
Yeah.
mean, or you'd go to the drive-in and pack 8,000 kids in a station wagon. I mean, that was crazy, but that's what people did, because guys were coming home from the war, they were just getting resettled, they were going to school, or they just came back to their jobs.
Yeah,
and
so
now it's
It's
why?
going to be the same thing. It's just going to be more expensive.
Well, that just doesn't make any sense.
Well, you have to go to Congress for that, because they're the ones who've slashed the funds.
Best of luck with that. Okay, so now that
Well, see,
I
that's
don't
the
even
problem.
want to go there,
That's
folks.
why the people with our different organizations, and this is a good time to pitch, donate to the conservancies and to the Sierra Club, Los Padres Forest Association, all these organizations and people who put in a huge amount of sweat equity to not only show people a backcountry, but keep it safe, and to groom trails so that you're not hanging off a 500-foot drop, you know, and swinging across on a vine.
So the people at home, if you had one message to give them, because a lot of people watch this show, what? Write to your congressman that's not going to write back to you? What do you do? How do you
most
advocate
of our
for
Congress
these?
people in California, as you know, and
Well, we
state
should secede,
senators
that's
and
another
all
whole
that,
subject altogether.
are much more attuned to that than
But on a
in other
national level,
states.
that's
On a
the
national
perilous.
level, you have to write to somebody else's congressman, and also to the president, and keep pushing. The Sierra Club has a major, major campaign now going to resist the people who are being put up as nominees for the EPA and all that. For crying out loud, the Republicans, Nixon is the one who signed the Environmental Protection Act and the Endangered
I didn't
Species
know
Act.
that.
Yes. And they want to get rid of the Endangered Species Act. And listen to this, the reason why back in the 70s, because the bald eagle, which is our nation's symbol, was endangered. So they signed the Endangered Species Act. The bald eagle has now come back. It's a success. The condor program, there was only 24 birds left in the wild. They were brought in, bred in zoos, and now there's hundreds of them out there. That's being counted as a success.
Now,
Out
Harry,
in the
weren't
Channel
you in
Islands.
Hopper Canyon?
Yes. I volunteer with the California Condor Nest Guarding Program,
Yeah.
and we go up and observe the
Is
birds.
that the one
and-
I can do on my camera, on
Yes,
my internet, and I can
yeah,
watch the
yeah.
birdies
Yeah,
in the
there's
nest
a condor
thing?
cam.
Okay.
And one other,
Ugly bird.
Yes.
success, yeah, it is. One other success is out in the islands, the little furry fox, the island fox, which is
But I thought we
extremely
were trying to get
endangered.
rid of those guys.
No, I think you have
You're
that
thinking of
wrong.
the pig.
You were thinking of the pigs. They got rid
They're
of the pigs.
four-legged, right? Okay, sorry.
But they're no longer on the endangered species list because monitoring it was a success.
So what you do, both of you, similar, very similar, both of you, because you have both similar interests. You advocate for the
Yes.
environment, like we said at the beginning of the
Yes.
show. This kind of advocacy is, you know, you're not mainstream population, either one of you. I mean, but you're passionate about this and you really want to see this continue. You instill it in your kids, you instill it in our grandchildren, you instill it in other generations to continue this work, which is so valuable and important. So I guess everybody at home, you know, write your congressman. I mean, advocate. Do you have lobby groups in Sacramento? You can call. Can you call up somebody?
Oh yes, they're all that stuff, and basically what you need to go, because there's not much time here, is to go to the websites. Go to the Sierra Club website. We're the Los Padres chapter, which is Ventura, Santa Barbara counties, and you can just plug in Los Padres chapter Sierra Club. You'll go to that.
And then what does Perry do?
And,
Where do we go for you?
How about ovlc.org for the Ojai Valley Land Conservancy? I also pick up trash once a month with the Keep the Sespe Wild Committee, and we pick up trash on the highway.
Wow, we didn't even touch on the Sespe.
And for the Ventura Hillsides Conservancy, venturahillsides.org. And it's really important because they bring together they're trying to buy land that, I mean, the Ventura River could be such a plum, but it has been trashed by the homeless and the invasion of arundo and all these other awful plants. And we're going to make that, with the public's help and their donations, we're going to make that a place where people can actually go to with their kids and have a great time along a flowing river with salmon in it.
Will you guys come back on the show?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Oh, I'd love to.
I think we need a checkup. I mean, in other words, like in 6 months or so, when we have a new administration, I want to do a pulse check. I want to make sure that stuff is happening. I want to do a post and make sure we continue with this conversation and continue it out there in the public eye.
Sign
We
me
just
up.
ran out of time. Sorry, guys, but you will be back. I
Thank you,
promise you
Suze.
that. I want you
Okay.
back.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching. I mean, this subject is so deep it could go on several shows, but unfortunately the show is not that long. So join us again next week. But thanks, guys. I want this to continue to keep on going.